In this video, I have a Technics STS707, just an AM/FM tuner. And in this case, the vacuum fluorescent display is very dim. So I'm going to show you what goes wrong with this one, and we're going to get right to the point and dive right into it without much else, and show you what goes wrong and why and how to fix it. So we look at the unit itself, and here's our symptom. The vacuum fluorescent display is very dim. Other than that, the tuner works. It receives AM and FM beautiful. Vacuum fluorescent displays require high voltage to operate. In this case, the high voltage is developed through a pump system with capacitors. So all those caps you see on the left side of the screen, those are part of the voltage regulator and the high voltage pump circuit that derives the high voltage from the lower voltage from the little transformer. So first we're going to measure some of the voltages. There's the 24 volt supply. This is the 12 volt supply and another 24 volt supply. Further testing found the negative supply was low. Now the negative voltage is supplied from the 9 volt supply. It's taken off the 9 volt and it goes through a voltage doubler, which consists of 2 capacitors and a diode, and it forms a pump circuit. I've just bridged one of the capacitors here, C718, and I don't know if I dim some lights down here, you might be able to see it a bit better. But if I've just bridged it here. Watch when I remove it, it'll get dimmer. See? So that one's bad. Let's change that one out first. Although when I test this on my ESR meter, it's actually testing pretty good. Let's just take a look at what the capacity is, whether we've lost our capacity with the microfarad tester. Because this cap tests good, but when I bridge it in the circuit, it brightens up. So it's measuring 106. So this cap actually tests good. Like it tests good out of the circuit. Now C718 looks good out of circuit. It tests good. C717 and C716, either of those could also cause a problem, so let's check them. This is the one time the ESR tester is wrong. Okay, 0.10. Looks great, doesn't it? Okay, my other capacitor tester. Ohms. .4 ohms, 0.3 ohms. This capacitor has shorted internally. Dead short. Okay, let's solder the new cap in place. Fixed it. Fixed it. Capacitor C716. So how this works, this is the voltage doubler. Actually, it's a tripler. We have our AC 9 volts coming off our transformer. And it goes through the switch, and then it comes through this capacitor. And then it goes through a series of diodes, which basically it pumps. So one half of the waveform, the positive half, gets dumped to ground. And then the negative half passes on to the next circuit, and it charges these capacitors along the way. And every time it goes through another diode and capacitor, it doubles the voltage until we get up to our 31 volts, which is clamped by D70, I think it's 708. It's a Zener diode. Anyway, that is the part that failed on this. And I found it just because of my knowledge of how these circuits work. I was led astray when I was relying on the meter, because in this case the capacitor had shorted and the ESR had not gone up. So the ESR meter in this case was completely useless. The capacitor meter itself was actually more useful, but not in the circuit. I actually had to remove the part to test it. What I did for testing on this circuit is I wanted to verify, I checked a few of them out when I bridged a couple capacitors. Of course, bridging this one in the circuit's not going to do a bloody thing because it was shorted. So that would only work if the capacitor was open. But what did send me down the right path is when I bridged, which one was it here? It was the small 47 microfarad, this one here. C709. Was it C709? No. Yeah, 709, 3.3. This one here. When I bridged this one, and I initially turned the power on, my display came up a little brighter, and then faded back out. Just because adding another capacitor to this added a little more charge. The first kick, that was the key. I bridged this with like, I think it was 100 microfarad across here. Because what happened was that the first kick that went through that shorted capacitor give me enough of a charge to build up a little more of a charge in this larger capacitor, and my display actually came brighter, and then it went back down dim and started the flickering again. So that gave me an idea that I knew that it was back in the circuit. So then what I did is I disconnected R709 because I did not know whether I had a loading problem on this side of the resistor or whether I had a power supply problem. So as soon as I disconnected R709, of course I've eliminated the display and I've eliminated the drive IC and everything, and now I've just isolated it down to the circuit, and my voltage never increased. So it didn't leave a lot to go on. Okay, my capacitors don't test bad for ESR, and I can't measure capacity in circuit with my other meter. I have to pull the capacitors out. So I started at C718, 716, whatever the one that we changed. I started, that was the first part I pulled out because that's the first one. And as soon as I pulled that out, so I put it on ohms, and oh, it's shorted. That would explain why it's not working. New cap, problem solved.
They're not soul senior, so you can't take.
So this unit's kind of unique because it's got a variable bandwidth. So depending on the quality of the signal coming in, it'll actually pick a wide or a narrow band. If I tune a signal in, for example, like this channel, it's a weak signal, but this station actually has a digital carrier running, high definition FM or high definition radio, which is in the sidebands, and this receiver knows it's got to go to a super narrow. And same with this one. This one's a wide band, narrow band. This one here is a wide band as well. Not only is this thing incredible, but take a look at this. It's got a button on here for signal. It'll actually tell us what the signal strength is, 40 dB. And 92.9 is 30 dB. 93.7 is 32 dB. 88.1, 40 dB. This video may look a bit familiar. I've done it as a redo, a short version, because I've had some people request that some of my old videos may have dragged on a bit and they'd like to see a more condensed version. So if you guys like this, let me know, and I'll go through some of the older catalog and we'll redo some of them and make some changes and clean them up so that they're more to the point and get you in, find the problem, and get you out without any of the other chatter that goes on. Let me know in the comments. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.